McAllister still going strongly in the closing minutes. Great run by Kevin McAllister! What a goal that is! Delivery's good, there's Hagan. Now McDonald, he scored!
It's Stokes on a hat-trick! Goal number 3 for Anthony Stokes.
Ralston saw off Robertson and delivered! Sibbald scores! That's the goal! That's the moment! Samuel off and running again. Is it going to be the hat-trick? You know it is.
This is Falkirk Daft.
His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti. No, that's not the lyrics to Eminem's 2002 hit Lose Yourself. That is what Ross Wayne is currently feeling as we are in cup fever, ladies and gentlemen. Only 5 sleeps to go till the big game, and here we are on Falkirk Daft, and it is a bumper edition. 2 games to review, 1 big interview and 1 massive preview to come today. I am John McInally, and as ever, the aforementioned man, I'm joined by the Ginger God of Pod, the one-man band of the main stand. It's Mr. Ross Wayne.
Good evening, sir. It's Cup Week. Come on.
I know. There's vomit on your sweater already, Mum's spaghetti. Of course, you will not be sick over your Stone Island sweater, Ross.
No, that would be bad.
You need that for when you're roughing up the Inverness supporters come Saturday, you know?
Oh, I don't know about that. We're all pals, eh? We're all pals.
Aye, wait until it gets to game day, Roscoe, and then the Stone Island comes on and then Danny Dyer comes out. That's what happens, you know.
Well, let's hope not.
I generally, I've really today, after Alloa, you know, we got that game put to bed, got second put to bed. We'll talk about that game in a bit, but I'm just starting to feel it now. You know what I mean? Just starting to get that buzz. And
I agree, John. I think everybody's feeling it as well. You see it on social media and stuff. Yeah. Now that Saturday's done and we've got a positive win and scored a few goals. And yeah, everybody can now focus on Saturday. It's going to be a huge, huge day. Over 8,000 tickets sold and hopefully more. You might get to your 9,000 or 10,000.
I really hope we do. I think you'll get that kind of last minute surge, hopefully. I mean, at the moment, everyone's talking about what you're doing, how you get in there. Everyone is crying out for a bus. If you haven't got one already, it's like hen's teeth, man, trying to find one. My plans have changed slightly now. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what pub I'm going to. I'm going to speak to some of the young team when I play football tonight, find out what they're doing, because I'm going to meet my mates in Glasgow. It's just all over the place at the moment, but I'm so buzzing for it. I really am. But yeah, we've got a massive podcast for you today. And we will be speaking, I said 1 big interview. We are speaking to the only man to score a cup final goal for Falkirk in this century, and one of a handful of players that do it of all time. Mr. Peter Grants Jr. is going to be on the show to talk about the semi-final, and obviously, you know, I think it'd be really interesting, Ross, to get that kind of inside perspective. What happens on the day? You know, what's it feel like going out to Hampden? I'm really looking forward to speaking to Peter about that.
I think he'll be great. He's such a nice guy as well, and you saw the passion. Well, obviously we were going bananas when he scored that day, but you saw him going absolutely nuts as well, and you saw what it meant to him. So it'll be interesting to hear his side of the story as well.
Absolutely. And we've got to say thanks very much. This week, Falkirk Daft is brought to you by Hampden Construction. Quality and loyalty is at the heart of their business. They've been delivering construction and building projects throughout the Central Belt for over 2 decades now. From domestic extensions, new builds, all the way through to commercial swimming pools, they can do the full shebang. They've got the skills and professional approach to undertake a vast range of projects. So whatever the size or nature of your project, you can be sure they will hold themselves to the highest possible professional, quality and ethical construction standards, which is so important. They also give a competitive price as well, which is great. They are set apart from the competitors because at the heart of everything Hampden Construction do is their commitments to clients, and they've got an exceptional reputation as a result, Ross. They'll do jobs throughout the Central Belt, also big supporters of Falkirk. They were the first ever Falkirk FC away day sponsors, that Darvel game and on the cup run obviously, and they'll be sponsoring the Russell Lappy section in the North Stand when that comes. Get them at haldenconstruction.co.uk. Find them on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn and Facebook, or you can pop them an email, info@Haldane Construction. That's Haldane, HALDNE, Construction, CONSTRUC. I'm going to tell you how to spell construction. You know how to do that. info@HaldaneConstruction.co.uk. All the details are below. So thanks very much to Peter and the guys at Haldane for sponsoring this week's show. Listen, I don't like to do this, Ross, right? Because we're View from the Terrace and their anti-Falkirk agenda from Craig Telfer and his Stenny mentality. I've got to say, I watched it on Friday night, and there was not only one Falkirk piece, there was two Falkirk pieces as Russell Latapy went into their time capsule
did he?
foreign players.
Right.
Up against Larson, Loudrop and Frank Sawsey, and they picked Russell to go in. So big focus on Russell. And then at the end, oh my God, I was almost greeting. It was Alex Totten was doing the kind of legends bit.
Yeah, it was nice on it.
It was honestly, like the bunch of hipsters who like their beer and whatever. And like, I'm not a massive fan of the show. It's all right, and they do a good job highlighting and focusing on the rest of Scottish football. But the packages that they put out, unbelievable. And that, honestly, watching, the replay of the cup final, the 97 semi and the cup run in, and it was just, honestly, I was sat there with a beer, the wife was out the house and I'm sitting, I could almost feel myself welling up. And just
was there a tear? I didn't see it live. I watched, it was very early Saturday.
Oh, did you skip over all the bits where they were talking, aye?
Well, I wasn't in on Friday night, to be fair, but yeah, I didn't know there was going to be another bit about the Bairns, but I went straight to the end because I was on a time limit. But like you, I thought it was fantastic. Alec comes across really well, as he always does. Yeah. Nice to see him back at the stadium for that feature as well. So it was really nice. Yeah,
brilliant stuff. You mentioned 8,000 tickets sold. I'm hoping we can get to that 10. I think hopefully 9. Hearing about 3,000 from Inverness, Ross, is that what you've heard?
That was the last chat. The guys from the Inverness podcast had obviously asked us on last week, and I was on there for about 15-20 minutes, and the latest that they had heard was 3,000. So they're hopeful though of getting up to 4 by Saturday. Yeah.
Well, we'll speak to the guys from the Wyness Shuffle a bit later on in the podcast, just so we get a feel for our opponents on Saturday. We'll speak to them. Ross was on their podcast, so we'll speak to the boys from that a bit later on in the podcast here. Nick Walsh just announced today he will be taking control of the game. He was in charge of the Darvel game, that's right, isn't it?
I thought he did.
Was it one of the
game? Willie Collum was the Darvel game.
Yeah, Willie Collum.
Yeah, I think Nick Walsh might have done the Ayr United game, though. I could be wrong.
I think he's definitely done one of the games. And, like we said about Wally Collum being the best ref we've had this year, but Nick Walsh was actually in that. He was all right at the Ayr game. He was all right. He kind of called.
If that's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I just checked out. It was. Yeah. So he did all right at there. So, and it's the first game, of course, in Falkirk's history that VAR is going to come into play.
See, do you know, VAR sounds like it's just another thing to fuck us off, to be honest.
We know we're going to get it. But then remember the cup final and Ollie's goal, which was clearly onside, right?
Oh, that's true.
It might work in our favour, Ross. You never know. But wait until the first time that VAR, checking VAR, I'm dreading that. It's going to be a horrible, horrible feeling.
Can you imagine celebrating, going absolute bananas, and then for them to go to a check and it'd be awful.
I know. So hopefully it doesn't play its part, but it's going to be interesting. Falkirk's first game in their history when VAR has come into play. Lookalikes, Ross. Let's talk lookalikes, because we've been looking for your lookalikes on the podcast over the last couple of weeks. What Falkirk players look like, celebrities or what have you. Couple of random ones here, Ross. Here we go. Chris, one of our friends, Mr. Hines, says that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad looks like Brian Kinnear.
He does a little bit, but Chris's sister Jo has also messaged us to say that you look like a bit like Brian Kinnear. I don't know if you saw that as well. I think there's a big resemblance there too.
Yeah, well, I'll need to get a picture with Brian and see if you can see the resemblance. Another one that I spotted, actually, it wasn't until the Edinburgh game, I was like, God, Donaldson's a spitting image of that guy. Now, I don't know if you watch Silicon Valley.
No.
Jared / Donald from Silicon Valley, who's the actor Zach Woods, I swear to God, and if you're watching the video version, you will see a picture of Jared with Cole, and I think they're a spit of each other.
They do look very, 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 very similar. Is that the guy who was in the Ghostbusters remake? Remember with the women?
Oh, I didn't watch that. It probably is, but I refused to watch that Ghostbusters remake. I watched the first 10 minutes. I went, "This is bloody awful."
I'm sure he was you might have seen him then, because I think he was the. It's not a film review, but I think he was the tour guide in like the spooky house at the beginning of the
okay. Well, there you go. There's Ross's point of reference. The reboot of Ghostbusters, and I'm going for Silicon Valley. But check it out anyway. If you've got any other lookalikes, please put them forward. That would be great. I've got to put a shout out. My new favourite Twitter account is Ardan1991, who equates any Falkirk result to a Ric Flair meme or GIF. Now, I've just talked about Silicon Valley, and I'm really painting myself more as a geek. Are you aware of the works of Ric Flair, Ross?
I've heard of him. I've heard of him.
Ric Flair, the Nature Boy, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
I've no idea what the Nature Boy means, but I recognise him as a wrestling.
God, anyway, if you're a wrestling fan, follow our dad 1991. Equates every Falkirk result with a GIF or meme from Ric Flair, and it is my new favourite Twitter account. So well done, that man. I wish I'd thought of that first. Ross, you're not a happy man.
How's that?
Having a go at this journalist from the Scotsman, Aidan Smith.
Do you know, well, I'm not alone. He was getting absolutely lambasted yesterday online, wasn't he? The guy's just an idiot. Like,
so this is an article that was written in the Scotsman about the semi-final, and it should be played at Tannadice. And what were your feelings on it? Why were you so angry at it?
Do you know, it was just this whole tone, like Falkirk and Inverness don't deserve to play at Hampden. He listed off, don't get me wrong, he listed off a few grumps and groans that we've all got, i.e. kick-off time, price of tickets. I'm not got an issue with that point of view because it's a common point of view. But for him to say that Falkirk and Inverness don't deserve to play at Hampden because there'll be 12,000, 13,000 there is just absolutely ridiculous. To be honest, I knew it was coming. You knew this week
of course it
was going to come. More so, it'll come again on Saturday night and Sunday when loads of pictures and images of Hampden and it won't be of 8,000 to 9,000 Falkirk fans or 3,000 to 4,000 Inverness fans back in their team. It'll be the thousands of empty blue and red seats. That's exactly what the pictures will be showing. And you know what? It is what it is. But for that guy, so-called well-paid journalist, informed Scottish opinion, blah, 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 he's just an idiot. And, well, he is. Well, at least I wasn't a lone voice. Like literally every reply to him was saying the same thing. Just get your head out your backside. I bet he watches A View from the Terrace. Don't buy that opinion, by the way. And did you see what he said? He's like, play it at Tannadice, and if you get a chance, why don't you walk into a few record stores? Fuck off. Yeah,
that's patronising as fuck. That
it is.
It really is. But and see, in fairness, I wouldn't mind if this game was played at Tynecastle. I know the Hampden, the big day out and stuff. I actually wouldn't have minded if it was something like Tynecastle, or
if it was to be played somewhere else other than Hampden. My preference probably would have been Tynecastle or indeed Easter Road, right?
Yeah.
But then, other than the size of the ground, Inverness have still got to travel 3 hours. That's true. I think it's better off at Hampden. At least the players get a feel for it. Plus, the other thing is, John, if whoever gets through is going to have to play at Hampden, so they may as well get used to a little bit of the size of the place, the pitch. To me, that's given that whoever gets through a disadvantage if they don't play at Hampden, because it doesn't give them a flavour of what it's like on the day, So. And let's face it, Rangers and Celtic usually have enough going for them. I'm sure whoever gets through from that game will have their own wee special end, as they always do, again, as always. So, get it up them.
And that is the bottom line, according to Ross Wayne. Will we do the draw for the Falkirk Support Society?
Yes, and we've got quite a bit to go through, John. Have you got your random generator kicking
I will get my random generator up, Ross, and you can tell me how many people are going in the random generator this week.
So, according to our good friends at the Support Society, they currently have 668
Come on, we can do better than that, people. We can do better than that. Well, listen, 668 people, great. Falkirk Support Society, get involved, and you can get involved in this draw each month on Falkirk Daft. What have we got on the board, Miss Ford?
We have 4 prizes today. John, we've got boardroom hospitality, as always. And as always, again, we've got our bucket of beers donated by our good selves.
Yep.
Brian Flynn and the guys at Behind the Wall have donated a Behind the Wall voucher, as they have done the last few months. Really well done. And also, as an extra 4th prize, Citrus Office Supplies, Gordon Profit, they've donated one of the now infamous Falkirk Daft reversible bucket hats. So we have
absolutely. I think over 100 sold now. Wearing them on Saturday.
Absolutely, yep. Well over 100. So I think, well over 100 sold so far. Wednesday lunchtime is really the cut-off for buying them online to get them posted to before Saturday. So you really need to get them bought before Wednesday lunchtime. But yeah, so boardroom we'll do it in reverse order. So let's do the bucket hat first.
Okay, all the details on the bucket hats in the link below. You can buy your bucket hat. Ross loves a bucket hat. In fact, his wife is so sick of hearing about bucket hats.
Cheers, very much so. Yes.
Right, who's getting this bucket hat then? Let's go.
Okay.
617.
We have a Mr. Brian Surgeon. Well done, Brian.
Brian is winning the bucket hat. And what's the next prize? The bucket of beers?
No, it's the Behind the Wall voucher this time, John.
Thanks, Brian, for this. 130.
Okay, again, it's Mr. Mark Buchanan.
Well done, Mark. And next up, it is the infamous Falkirk Daft bucket of beers, and it is going to 532.
Mr. Gordon Phillip.
Well done, Gordon. And finally, the Boardroom Hospitality, the big prize. This is a cracker. Is this for next season then, Ross? Yeah?
It will be,
because on the playoffs. Yeah.
Playoff, maybe. Yeah, they can maybe get themselves into the boardroom for the playoff, yeah.
Here we go then, and it is number 486.
486. It's a Mr. Alex Hay.
Well done, Alex. Off to the boardroom. Check you out. Brilliant. So that is the Falkirk Support Society draw. If you want to get involved, you need to sign up to the Falkirk Support Society, contribute to that, and we will be hopefully getting more money into the club, and we'll aim for that fan ownership part of things. Right, okay, we've got another competition to do here, Ross. The Kai Kennedy t-shirt competition from last week. We asked you to message in, email in with your favourite Kennedy to win a Kai Kennedy t-shirt, and that's the picture from Fitbad Tweets, which is the recreation of the go against Ayr to get us where we're going on Saturday. Right, 2 winners here for you, Ross. James Jenkins, thank you very much. He is saying his favourite Kennedy is Stuart Kennedy, who obviously was a great right back for us before he moved to the most successful Aberdeen team ever. He owned the Woodside pub for a few years after he retired.
Brilliant.
Did not know that.
Yeah, no, do you know, I did hear that. I don't think I ever went in at that point. I only ever go in there occasionally, to be honest. But
when you're going for a train or getting off the train.
Coming off one, yeah. But no, good, really, really good suggestion. Absolutely.
Great pub as well. Love the Woody. And the other winner is Dickie. Now, Dickie's favourite Kennedy is Kennedy. Very good, like that. So Dickie and James both winning the t-shirts this week. So well done to you guys. We'll get them sorted out for you, hopefully in time for the semi-final. Right, okay. Just a couple of bits of bobs to talk about, Ross, I think, aside of all our usual stuff. Reports in the Daily Record today saying big argument from Kelty is on the radar for Falkirk. I saw that. Do you know, he's a big player, and obviously he's done a little bit of damage against us, as we know from and he's scored, he scored 9 or 10 goals this season so far, which for Kelty is actually not too bad, because they won't create as much as maybe we would or Dunfermline would. So if I would be more than happy with that signing, if I'm being honest. Big lad, big player. We've not got anything like that just now. So yeah, that would be all right. Yeah, we'll take that one. good shout. The other thing I saw today actually is obviously we've got the new strip maker O'Neill's next season. Ayr just released their new kit, and I tell you what, it's a bit of a cracker.
I saw it. It looks all right, actually.
It was the first. I mean, I know obviously Partick. I've had O'Neill's this season, and actually I looked at the Partick kit, and it's actually really decent as well. But I saw Ayers released theirs, and I thought, oh, that looks quite nice. So if there's anything like that, I'll be well chuffed with it.
Might not be too far away as well, John, because you know what Falkirk like to do? They like to do end of season and stuff, and obviously we've got a big end of season, so maybe. And
Crunchy Cats had a 2-year deal, didn't they?
I don't know.
I'm not sure because
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember or not because because obviously they probably want to get the shirt sponsor confirmed before they release the top.
They would indeed, yeah. So from my own knowledge of the process, things like sponsorships kind of need to be known a good few months before the end of the season, because these things obviously take a few months to get made up, and then I suppose it depends where they're being shipped over from. Well, obviously with Puma, it's like Turkey and stuff. I don't know about O'Neill's. That's they're maybe UK based, so or indeed Ireland. So it might not be as long to get the kit over. But you wonder if, like as Falkirk normally do, they try and get an end of season release. I wonder if we might see it for the playoffs, or if we're fortunate enough to get through to the cup final, do they maybe release it in time for that? Either way, brilliant, and hopefully it's a decent shirt. That'd be nice.
Right, Ross, let's talk about some Falkirk news, shall we? And let's start off with the Falkirk women 2-2 with Edinburgh Caledonia yesterday. It puts them, to put that into context, they were 2-0 down and fought back. 2 goals again. Susan Wyatt and Mary Smith scored in the last minute. It still leaves the girls in a good position for promotion from League One. They're currently on 56 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've still... The problem is they're playing FC Edinburgh next week, who are like scushing everyone. I mean, their goal difference is 104, right? So that puts it into context. So expect... It's going to be a tough ask for the girls next week. But if they manage to get... After that, I think it's the last game of the season, and then they play West Dyke.
Okay.
And at the Falkirk Stadium on the 7th of May. And that's going to be a big, big game because West Dyke are just behind them. So if West Dyke win at the weekend, and then if Falkirk get beat, or maybe if they beat FC Edinburgh, who I believe have got they're very good because they've got a lot of ex-Hibs and a lot of ex-Hearts players in there. It's going to be an absolute nail-biter at the Falkirk Stadium on the 7th of May between West Dyke and Falkirk for that final promotion place.
Could be a big one then. Yeah, well, hopefully they'll have a big crowd through at the stadium that day as well then, so need every bit of encouragement.
They're in good form going into that, so fingers crossed the girls can come through, and we'll talk about that more next week and try and get, I think I'll probably try and get that down to that myself actually, because they're going great guns at the moment. So yeah, fingers crossed for the women and promotion, their push for promotion, mirroring the men's team. The Falkirk Football Club and Falkirk Foundation Recognition Awards night is upon us. It's on Thursday the 2nd of May.
Yes.
I've just realised I can go to it. I've just realised, I thought it was the Tuesday night. I've just realised I could go to it.
I thought it was the Tuesday night.
Well, it says Thursday 2nd of May on the brochure for it.
Yeah, no, it's a Tuesday night, John.
It is. Well, they misprinted that on the poster. I was getting excited there.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the Tuesday night, sir. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, because we sponsor Liam McCann's, we've got a couple of invites, but they've printed I was getting my little hopes up there, but 2nd of May is the Tuesday. They put it on the poster Thursday the 2nd of May. Damn it. Anyway, there's spaces still available if you want to go along there. They're going to also be inviting nominations for some awards as well. I think if you want all details on that, by the way, head to the Falkirk website if you fancy heading along. Ross is going to be there. I'm not getting to go because I'm going down to London for some sort of radio thing, big radio ceremony. But I'm so gutted I'm missing out on it. But probably for the best, considering some of the things we've said in this podcast. I'm sure it doesn't get back to the players. But if you're going there, Ross, and Ryan Williamson approaches you and says, "What's this you're calling me the PE teacher for?"
I'll just say that was John.
Right, yeah. So I see what you're going to do here. You're just going to say to everyone, "Oh, that was John." Matthew Wright comes up. What were you saying about me, Ross? That was John.
Yeah, no, actually, I don't know if I'll get away with the Matt Wright one because that is pretty much me. But yeah, well, listen, good luck to your good self down at your awards ceremony as well. Fingers crossed you get something there.
Yeah, well, I'm gutted I'm missing out on this night, but yeah, you'll have to let us know how it goes on a couple of weeks' time on Falkirk Daft. I think we should do our own Falkirk Daft Awards, by the way. I think we should get little trophies made up.
Me too. I think, well, yes, we could, but how do we deliver the Falkirk Dafty of the Year award to someone without being...
We'll maybe not run that one. Maybe not run that one. But I think actually our own Falkirk Daft Awards, we can maybe get some little trophies like you used to get at Cubs and stuff like that, little trophies.
You used to do it at Player of the Year nights as well, didn't you? Because you would have like a big trophy that would go behind the bar, and then you would have the little one that it would go to the player. I always remember years ago when we used to run the bus from Austin's. Do you remember upstairs? At Austin's, and we had a Player of the Year night in the late 90s, and we'd held it upstairs in Rosie's, and there was like 100 odd people there, the Falkirk players and everyone there, and Davy Nichols got Player of the Year, and so we'd handed him the big trophy for like the pictures and stuff like that, and then I said to him, "Oh yeah, we need to take that back, but this is your one," and it was like a small 10-inch
brilliant
trophy that was tiny, and he just looked at it and I thought, yeah, that's getting thrown in the bin.
Aye, pretty much. But we'll do our own. So watch this space. I think we should probably do it before the playoffs. But there's a little bit of optimism still around, so we'll do that in the next couple of weeks. The other thing from the club is the Forever Falkirk Fund. It had went quiet actually. I know it was kind of mentioned briefly, but it's officially launched now. 100% of the money raised directly going into the club's football budget each season. Going into details on it, we've got fan-owned and ambitions to get back to the Premiership, but given the disparities in the SPFL financial distribution, they need additional funding. That's why they've set this up. The idea is simple. Fans contribute to Forever Falkirk Fund. 100% of the money raised directly contributes towards the footballing budget and the support for both first team and the academy. You can contribute by making a monthly donation of £10 or more. Monthly payments have to be made for a full 12 months to ensure the pledge funds, once committed to the football budget, are on for the whole season. Fans donating will also be able to pay for the season ticket for 12 monthly instalments. So get in touch. They're looking now, you have to get in touch before the 31st of May to start your payments if you want to join that fund as well. So that's now available. So check out the Falkirk website for all the details on that, the Forever Falkirk Fund. Right, okay, we're only a part of the way through the podcast and we've not talked really about football yet and the big games that we've had. 2 games this week, Ross. Now, we usually get a guest pundit on for this, but I think we're just going to fly through it because there's got so much on the show. So let's go back. It seems like an eternity ago, but probably one of the worst displays of the season. Falkirk 1, Edinburgh 2, last Tuesday night at the stadium. Thoughts?
Shite.
And that ends the review of Edinburgh.
Well, I sound like that mad Celtic women outside Hampden, don't I? Yeah. Right. No, it was awful. It was as you say, it was the worst display all season. And no positive from. Well, you could maybe argue Kai Kennedy's goal because it was a peach of a finish, but that aside, it wasn't like there was nothing else of note worth praising anyone at all last Tuesday. I just thought that was the worst display all season. Yeah, I mean, there were changes obviously made. Williamson, Nesbitt, McGuffey and Burrell came in. Max, Cal Morrison, and Gary Oliver and Blaine Rowe heading out the side. But he did go with the 4-3-3. After playing the diamond against Dunfermline, playing the diamond against Montrose, he switched back to this 4-3-3 and it just didn't work. It was... I think the best word to describe that performance is sloppy. See the amount of misplaced passes in that game. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It was awful. Constant bad passing, overhitting. The actual, Joe, I'm saying Kai Kennedy's his goal was the only highlight, but actually Ryan Williamson in that first half, he was brilliant. obviously I didn't see Saturday, so I can't comment, but he's obviously set 2 goals up against Alloa as well. So
we're going to talk about, interesting, we're going to talk about who you picked for the semi-final a bit later on, so bear that in mind, that thought. But I thought Ryan Williamson was excellent in the first half. We suspected you thought he'd come off injured, but he had actually just got rested when Blaine Rowe came on. I mean, when you got it to 1-1, you think, right, here we go. Right, let's step up the gas. And just two sloppy goals, deflections, and just falling at the right place. And then, of course, at the end, we were turned down what I thought was a penalty as well. Yeah,
no, it did look like a pen.
There's no surprise there.
No, it didn't. And do you know, see when we scored though, John, I don't know if I said this to you at the time, but I didn't actually think we deserved to score. And obviously, I was delighted to have scored because I thought, well, it's going to maintain it'll increase the gap from 5 to 6 points over Airdrie, but we didn't really deserve it. And then when they scored the winner, as pissed off as I was, there was a really small part of it, but fair play is because that wasn't even Edinburgh's.
They were injury hit. They were absolutely decimated,
which makes it even worse that we were so bad. So, obviously, in hindsight now, we've got second place secure, which is great. But last Tuesday night, I think I've never seen the Falkirk fans so angry with not just the players, but with John McGlynn.
Yeah, that does. I mean, that was the angriest I've heard the supporters. I think quite rightly. I think John in his post-match interview came out and said, I mean, the team were sloppy, and he held up his hands for it as well.
No,
I mean, to go out with that, switch it back from. I mean, I understand dropping players to make way, because to be fair, Morrison need the rest. Max is young. We've been crying out for Burrow to come in, and then Blaine Rowe. So I don't. But I just think going with that 4-3-3 again was a mistake. Going to some of your comments, you kept echoing what me and Ross said. Grant says, every day's a school day. Another McGlynn refusal to change system. Feels like he's making a point, but no idea what it is. Ryan Williamson was our best player.
Yeah, no, listen, I don't disagree. I think he was. Kennedy's goal aside, I didn't think he had a great game. Maybe another 5-10 minutes. But yeah, Ryan Wilson by far, especially in that first half, he was phenomenal. Scott said, absolute shambles tonight. The team selection was questionable and the shape another. We looked okay in the first half, but the second half was just awful. The refusal to change shape was why we lost. He should never have taken Burrow off, and I hope he apologises and kills the 4-2-3-1 for good. Well, obviously we know he didn't.
Yeah, Killian says, I see a lot of people are blaming McGlynn here, but to be honest, it's not McGlynn that's the problem. It's the fact the team just couldn't be arsed. Players were making shocking mistakes left, right and centre, and to defend McGlynn, he wants his best players left for the semi.
Too true. Ian says, been watching the Bairns for 60 odd years, and that's in the top 10 of shit performances. It's 20 minutes of effort followed by 70 minutes of dross served up by the players who looked like they just couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I don't think I'd put it in the top 10. I've seen 10 worst performances probably in the last 2 seasons from Falkirk. But there you go. Stuart says, concerned at how wrong McGlynn has got the last 2 games and how the mood in the stadium has returned to the feel of last season. It did feel like one of those games. And an opportunity missed to get some performances in the bank for the big games ahead.
Indeed. Drew said the selection was shit, the formation was shit, the subs were shit, the players were shit. Similar for the last month and a half now. Will take a miracle to beat ICT or indeed get promoted.
Evan says, why would McGlynn put on Gary Oliver instead of Jordan Allen? They brought him to score goals and he can't even get a game. What is the point? And Kai Kennedy was the only player that tried. And why would McGlynn play Williamson over Rowe? I think, well, again, Williamson played well. We'll move on to the Alloa game in a minute. Worst I've seen Falkirk play in a while.
Indeed. And last but not least, David says, we're in the playoffs and Scottish Cup semi-finals. Has everyone forgot how bad it's been the last 4 years? McGlynn's squad, when he took over, was only 6 or 7 players. The guy has done wonders. Some folk just need to get a grip.
End on a positive, and of course it was positive as we moved on to Alloa on Saturday there. Alloa 1, Falkirk 4. Liam Henderson, 2 goals, very similar. Kai Kennedy with another strike from outside the box. His dad's obviously had another word in his ear. And Brad Mackay, Brad Mackay. Yes, love it. Again, changes, Nesbitt, McGuffey drop out, Max and Morrison come into the side. Now, I wasn't at the match, but my understanding is that he played with the Diamond with Morrison playing up front with Burrow.
Well, obviously, as we know, I wasn't there either, mate. So other than the highlights, I can only go by that. But listen, yeah, I think from a formation perspective, from an attitude perspective, obviously we've scored goals. It just looked and felt completely the polar opposite to Tuesday night. Yeah. I spoke to a few of the guys who were there. They said exactly the same. It could have been more. Whatever's happened in that 45-minute dressing room lock-in after Tuesday night, there's been a reaction which we all hoped would happen. So whatever was said is worked. And obviously, as you've said, 2 quality crosses into the box by Mr. Williamson for Hendo, because they're almost carbon copy goals. Yeah,
it was good. I mean, that we saw that against Airdrie as well. Hendo can nick in. It's a tactic to get Hendo in at that back post.
Yeah. And he's getting a lot of knockdowns as well, even if it's not him scoring from a header. He's getting a lot of knockdowns and stuff as well, which is great. And as you said, the finish from Kai Kennedy again at the edge of the box. He's going to cause.
He's on absolute fire at the moment, that wee man. He's on. Yes. I mean, I'm trying to count up how many goals he's scored in the last wee while, but it's certainly 4 in the last 3, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, mate. So, and as you just said, big Brad Mackay getting on the score sheet again.
2. It's 6 in the last 5, isn't it? 6 in the last 4. 6 in the last 4 because he got 2 against Montrose.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely.
What a result. So keep it going, Kai, especially on Saturday. Come on, son. My worry is though, Ross, again, we go up and then it's almost like we let Alloa straight back in. There was a header from Luke Donnelly that just went wide, and then again we give away a silly penalty. Again, it was Hendo that gave it away, but he obviously made up with the 2 goals in the end.
He did. No, yeah, but
it worries me. It worries me that because we've done it so many times, just letting teams back in the door once we go ahead. So we've got to shut the door for Saturday. That's for sure.
We need to be exceptionally tight. We need to be exceptionally tight at Hampden on Saturday, and the playoffs for that matter.
Obviously, it guaranteed us second spot. We're still waiting to find out who is going to end up with that third spot. Airdrie obviously drawn against Dunfermline there, despite Dunfermline going down to 9 men.
Yeah, so that.
At the weekend, so it'll be interesting to see. They've got They've got Queens at the south, and they've got Edinburgh still to go. So
a couple of potential tough ties there.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I would rather not play at Airdrie. I would rather face Alloa, if I'm honest with you. But we'll wait and see how it goes over the next couple of weeks. But we're definitely in second. And your responses to that game, Wee Div kicks us off a lot better. We need to come out right from the whistle at the start of the second half. So from this point on, these second half starts could cost us because we're sluggish at start. It's all there for the taking. If we play at our best, we should get promoted. The cup is just a bonus for me.
Interesting. Scott says, perfect result going into next week. Second place secured, and McGlynn should be happy with the squad.
Absolutely. Craig, superb performance. Change of formation worked well. Max and Kai Kennedy will be a massive miss next season. They are quality. Well, if we get up, you never know.
Never know. Yeah, well, certainly with Max.
I think Kai Kennedy's step up in the last month or so, I think there'll be Championship and probably lower Premiership clubs looking at him.
Yeah, if not overseas as well. That was the rumour, wasn't it? That
and certainly wee Max, I think he'll get his game at St Johnstone next season, so we'll wait and see.
Likely. But you never know. Carl says, superb today, didn't expect 4-1, but at least second place is secured. Ryan Williamson was one of our best players on the park again. On to next week. Come on, Falkirk, let's make the town proud. We're on our way to Hampden. We're on our way.
Yes! McCann and Williamson says, Mickey, both great today. Delighted for Big Hendo. He was having a ball out there. Most important thing is some of the good feels restored in time for next Saturday. We needed that. We did need that. Then send out the under-17s to Peterhead and let them all have a couple of days break before the playoffs.
Amen. Yes, if we can do that, let's do that. Another Ross says, much better performance and great to see us free scoring again. Williamson's played his way into the semi-final starting 11. Come on, the Bairns.
Angela finishes up saying, a lot better. First touch has been poor for weeks, but today it just clicked. Glad second place secured before the semi-final. Come on, ye Bairns. Right, out of that week then, Ross, go Falkirk Daft, Dafty of the week. Who's going to?
Dafty first.
Dafty first.
Oh. Well, obviously, as I said, I wasn't there on Saturday, so I can only go by Tuesday, and there is a number who could be the last week. Oh my goodness, who was bad the worst? It's a tough one, mate. Do you know? I'm going to say your big pal Cole Donaldson. I thought he was really poor again
quite a few times.
Tuesday.
Quite a few times now.
Yep.
I'm going to give it to the manager. I think he got his tactics all wrong on Tuesday.
Yeah. No, listen, big factor in terms of the formation and the tactics that we put out there. So, no.
Sorry, John. Sorry. Falkirk Daft rated for the week?
Again, obviously, I only saw Tuesday, but then I saw the highlights from there. I'm gonna go, Mr. Williamson.
What?
I know. Listen,
wow.
The extracurricular PE work has obviously helped him during his downtime. So phenomenal on Tuesday, and he set up 2 goals for Big Hendo. Please, same again, Mr. Williamson. Please, sir, next Saturday.
I'm going to go with the man you just said there. I can't believe I'm not giving it to Kai Kennedy, by the way. But I'm going to go Hendo. 2 goals. I thought he was okay, probably the best Falkirk player in the park on the Tuesday night as well. So he did give away the penalty right enough, but I'll let him off for that. But big Hendo for me.
Indeed.
Yeah, and if you want to be a guest pundit, we've got a guest pundit lined up for after the semi-final, Ross, haven't we?
We do, indeed. We're all sorted.
But we're still looking probably some for the playoffs, so if you want to be a guest pundit, do DM us on Twitter, Facebook, or email us, Ross or John at gmail.com.
This is Falkirk Daft.
So we're having our big semi-final preview and very excited to introduce the only person that scored in the Scottish Cup final for Falkirk in this century, and one of only 5 players ever to score for Falkirk in a Scottish Cup final. It is, of course, Peter Grant. How you doing, Peter?
Hi guys, all good, thank you. Thanks very much for having me on your show and that, so looking forward to it.
No worries.
Great to have you here. Like, you know, Peter, you were there 2015, our last kind of cup game against Inverness. I mean, you scored that goal. We all thought we were going to go on and win the game. And I mean, the euphoria that came out of you in that moment as well, you just thought, I turned to my mate saying, "Oi, what? We're going to win this. We're going to win this." And then what happened. Hard to take.
Yeah. Exactly the way that, you guys just described it there. It was, coming up against a very good John Hughes Inverness side, really good players, the likes of Christie, Doran, and, you name it, right through their team. Been very, very good. Had a very good season leading up to that. We knew it was going to be a very tough game. But we just had that inner belief in ourselves. I think, you guys as supporters could see that we were such a young team anyway for the last, leading up to that we were going in there just full of belief that, not being disrespectful, but the fact that you've managed to avoid the likes of Celtic, going into the semi-final to start with, and the big guns, and then obviously the way that happened in the Inverness game with Celtic, through the handball incident and stuff like that, and then Inverness going through and then getting us, you're thinking, is this kind of the writing on the wall that Falkirk can go and do this? And we just had an inner belief that going into the game to start, we had no fear. We respected Inverness. We knew their strengths. We knew how we could hurt them. But as you said, we got on and obviously scored the equaliser, and I think we deservedly got it at the time.
We scalped them in the second half, Peter.
Yeah, I must admit, I felt first half we rode a lot. We soaked up a lot of pressure. We had to really dig in. It was a real kind of, obviously when Watkins scores, when he did, it was against the run of play in terms of the way the goal happened. But you kind of think, right, okay, but we regrouped so well, to be fair, after that. You know, it was easy, you know, because of the occasion. It could have easily, you know, for the team to just kind of go, right, that's, you know, it could have just, you know, went on, but it didn't. We regrouped at half-time. Obviously, the gaffer kind of rejigged it a little bit as well. And I must admit, you know, from the get-go of the second half, we really took the game with the scruff of the neck. I thought we controlled possession, we controlled the tempo of the game, we looked on the ascendancy, and I could just feel the tide turning a wee bit, you know. And I could feel even the support feeling it as well. It's hard to obviously put it into words, but you just kind of get a wee feeling as a player when you're on there that, you know, something's coming, and we just kept prodding and prodding. Obviously, we had well shot early in the second half, and you just think, you know, it's coming, and obviously, Botty done ever so well to obviously get the free kick. Blair Olsen, as he's done many a times through the time I was there, put on a sixpence for me. So. And then just, you know, when you go and score the goal, and you just think it was just an utter, you know, it was a whirlwind, because I think my celebration said that, I don't think I knew what I was doing. When you see it back, you think, oh dear, but it was just a sheer kind of, like you said, a euphoria moment, that in such a massive occasion, a massive kind of period in the game, because I actually, when I look back on the game after, and when I realised the time, because I didn't realise even how long ago when I scored, I just thought, I generally thought there was only like minutes to go. But when I realised it was still a good minute at the time after the game, it was a real big moment in the game to score, because you still got that time to really kind of prod away. And I think
try and get something.
And get something in normal time. And I think that's kind of what let us down. I think that obviously with the sending off, and I think the only regret, I think that we could probably just managed it and thought, you know what, I don't mean see it out to extra time, but kind of regroup and just kind of settle down and we control the game that we want to do it again, and build up and get maybe another chance. And listen, the counter attack from the corner, listen, it is what it is. You know, we were just devastated. Obviously, the way we conceded it, because that's unlike us. You know what I mean, to concede a goal like that, to be fair. So that's why we were so disappointed. But yeah.
So I'm opening up old wounds. It's like Nam here, Peter. I'm opening up old wounds both for you and for us as well. Because you just go into your head, you're replaying that goal. It's like, why did Cracks not half him? What is Jamie McDonald? I was just like, But
yeah, and even at that, like, you know, you critique your own self as well, because even though obviously Cracks, obviously, like, you know, listen, you can slip at any point. You know what I mean? Obviously Cracks has slipped. Then Watkins is 1v1 with me. I can see, look, Leahy recovering, so I'm thinking, well, I need to delay Watkins, because if I go too early, he's quick, he could go past me here, and if I bring him down, I'm sent off. Because if I bring him down, like, I'm thinking the referee will think that, look, Leahy's no covering, so I can't even bring him down. So I'm trying to delay, you're caught, and you know, you're just caught in the middle. And you know, I even critique myself. I'm thinking, well, bloody hell, maybe I should have even just kept him wider and not even allowed him to get the shot. But, you know, I've ended up backpedaling as well, kind of stood. But he's ended up, it's not even a great hit by Watkins.
No, it's not. No.
No, it wasn't. And I think Jamie McDonald said that himself since then, hasn't he? That, like, 9 times out of 10, he would have pushed it away, or he would have caught it.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, we actually said in the dressing room after the game, the last person that should ever be taking the blame is even Jamie McDonald, because he was not just that season, but like the full time he was with us at Falkirk, like, you know, in previous games, the amount of times that he's been produced big moments, it was absolutely phenomenal for us. So no matter how down he felt about the moment, the last person that any of us as players in that were going to turn around to Jammer and, you know, kind of go, come on, because he was absolutely phenomenal. You know what I mean? Phenomenal.
That's the thing, Peter. When you think back to the semi, like, Jamie McDonald kept us in that semi, didn't he? So
we could have easily been 3-4 down at half time. You know what I mean? You have to ride your luck. Obviously, we know they hit the post and the woodwork and stuff like that. But, you know, there was big moments that Jammer kept us in the game, or else it would have been over before half time, probably, in the semi. So, but yeah, one that still, that you look back on and think, oh, it's the one that got away. But still, I always say to people when I get asked about it, from a personal kind of perspective, to even just be in an occasion like that, because you never know. You know, some guys will go through their full career no playing in a cup final, you know what I mean? And to have that double bounce of playing in it and scoring in it, you know, for like a family, and to look back on in years to come after, you know, when you're way past, you know, hanging your boots up, it's a very, very proud moment. And also as well, the biggest thing I take out and I say to people, like, to do it with that group of players, because I hold them in such high regard as people as well. and never mind his teammates. Like it was, and the management staff and that, and obviously the manager, and it was really, really special, you know, to actually kind of come through that period and experience it with those group of guys, you know. So.
Well, let's get away from the final, which is Vietnam, and we'll forget about that, right? Okay, let's rewind to the semi-final, because we're on the precipice of potentially getting to the semi-final. I mean, that was your first major semi-final, presumably, Peter. Was that the first time you'd walked out of Hampden?
It was, yeah. I'm trying to think if I actually been to Hampden even before that, even to go watch a game of football. I can't even remember. You know, because obviously I lived down south for like, you know, during my dad's work, obviously down south. So I never even, I don't think, got a chance to even go to Hampden as a supporter to watch any teams or anything like that. So to actually turn up at the semi-final that day and walk out of Hampden was my first actual taste and experience of it. So yeah, it was my first occasion, you know, properly, and even as a player, because I played obviously my football down the road. So absolutely surreal to go out, especially against a real going into a good semi-final against Hibernian and that, you know, that was kind of arch rivals in the league that year anyway. So it was brilliant to kind of go toe to toe, you know, with such a massive, you know, occasion as well, you know.
How did it feel actually? What, like, never mind the kickoff, Peter, what was it like, just kind of, you know, with your tracksuit on or your suit on? How is it just kind of walking out onto that pitch at Hampden?
Yeah, it was just, I mean, you know, even if you want to take it back even before that, it's even like the build-up, going into the game, because obviously the fan base is incredible anyway, you know what I mean, for Falkirk, like, you know, even just kind of, I mean, we tried to, obviously the gaffer tried to treat it like a normal week anyway, you know, I know it's cliche, you know, when you hear it so many times when you're going into such a big occasion, but we tried to obviously keep it such a low-key level week. We knew that the media and that were going to be coming in towards the end of the week, and it'd be that kind of buzz, and obviously a buzz around the town and stuff like that, but it was never kind of like a daunting feeling. It was one of them ones where, like, you were, as soon as kind of we played on the Saturday, I think we played like Queen of the South or something on the Saturday, and we knew we were going to obviously unfortunately get in playoffs, but see, from that Monday, it was like you could not wait to get to Hampden. Like everybody, like you were going in every day in that, and the boy, obviously it was like Cheshire Cat's smiles on like the boy's face. Like it was just honestly, we just couldn't wait, you know. And the build up to it was brilliant, just the whole experience, and even just like during the week in the town. And if you were going out just to get, like, you know, shopping and food and stuff like that during the week, you could just tell that, you know, you would see certain things in that, you know, in the town with flags and stuff like that, knowing that it was such a big occasion, and everybody around the town was buzzing, you know. And as a player, obviously building up, and you try and kind of, like, you know, keep yourself as calm as possible, but because it is such a big occasion, and obviously being so young at the time in that as well, I think I was only like 21 at the time or 22, and had a good bit of games under my belt, but like not experience of having big level games in terms of like cup finals and whatever. So it was trying to manage that. I was, like I said, I always say, like, playing alongside with like Dave McCracken, and that was massive for me, because even in the games coming up when I first joined, obviously Falkirk, into the games, and having someone like that who's that senior pro experience to kind of guide you, it was brilliant to have that to kind of keep the nerves, and obviously my dad had experience as well, so it was good to have that kind of bounce effect off these guys to kind of know what expect it, and to kind of go in level-headed and just, you know, focus on the game. And but just little things like on the bus going up to the game and you see the supporters, and it's like you watch cup finals before on the telly going to Hampden, you see the build-up on Sky and whatever, and you think, God, that'd be brilliant going in, and you imagine how must the players feel seen on the bus and looking out and seeing it all, and then when you get to Hampden, putting your stuff in the change room and then walk out to see the pitch for the first time, and you look about and think, God, 40 odd 50,000 is going to be in here in about 45 minutes time. That's what you dream about, and it's take it all in and just go and give everything that you would do on a normal league game, and the rest will take care of itself. So just the sheer excitement and the buzz was just through the roof, and it's something that, you know, that you'll always remember, and, you know, you can remember those days as clear as yesterday. So absolutely amazing.
I mean, you talked earlier, Peter, about obviously you've still got that kind of bond with the boys you played at. I mean, you look at that Falkirk side that walked out that day, you know, Jay McDowell, Kieran Duffy, yourself and Cracks at the back, Luke Leahy out in the left wing, Tom Tayu, Vokes and Sippled in front of you. What a midfield that is, by the way. I mean, you must be looking up going, I'm just going to pass it to Tom, and he's going to hold the ball. And I mean, Sippled, and obviously Wills went on to great things as well. And, you know, it was a great team. Taylor Morgan, I don't know, but we'll get back to that. But what aside, are you still quite a close unit after that cup run?
Yeah, I mean, even, obviously, as you guys know as well, it's in any line of work in that, like, once you kind of the team starts to break up, it's, it's hard to still keep in contact. Everybody's doing different things or whatever. But when I see them, or when, like, you still follow them, like, social medias nowadays, it's easier to keep in contact with these guys. Like Big Cracks, for instance, works for the PFA now, so I was actually had a coffee with him about maybe 2-3 months ago, just local to me, and just brilliant to sit down and just have a chat with him, like, and just, go over old things and that again, and just kind of catch up on that, like, because he was absolutely massive for me when I first come up to Falkirk as a young boy trying to start my career, and him being I always say he was a massive, massive influence on how I kicked on at Falkirk, having that leadership and that older head, if you want to call it, to kind of bounce off, and, me being that kind of rash centre half at the time that was kind of maybe inconsistent, to kind of level up and get those consistencies, later on in, your period once you started getting games under your belt. But, it's brilliant to see the likes of Will became obviously a Welsh international. Luke Leahy, captain of Shrewsbury, playing so many games in the EFL down south. Sibs flying at Dundee United now, playing every week, top talent. Tom Taiwo's obviously, I think he's in doing scouting in that now. Obviously, Blair Olsen from the side, is obviously in the Premier League. So Jammer's obviously, been a mainstay. Obviously, at Wraith Rovers, you can go through them all. Like the ones that like have really kicked on, and it's no surprise because I'll still say to this day that group, that first 2 years I was at Falkirk, it's the best team that I played with. In the dressing room as well. Never mind the actual ability of the players. See the actual dressing room itself. It was absolutely phenomenal. And then later, when you had like the likes of Mark Kerr, John Baird, Lee Miller, guys like that who had a great good, you must give massive credit to Peter Houston and the staff for the recruitment they've done, because he got a great blend of older heads and the kind of young crop that are still kind of coming into their peak, and that's what really made the glue together. And everybody had such a great connection with one another. They would run through a brick wall for one another, and that's what I loved about that dressing room. And they were honest as the days long, through the good times or bad times. It wasn't obviously always great, because you have your bumps, but even when we did have great results, which was few and far between, we were lucky because the boys were brilliant in those first 2 seasons, as well, especially. But a fantastic dressing room, and like I said, I'll always look back on fond memories because it was a real good period of my career.
What do you remember about that game? What's the kind of abiding memory of that game, Peter?
Well, I laugh about it as well. I think it was more obviously like, first and foremost, I think the gaffer's press after the game is absolutely the best thing I've seen, because I can't obviously remember what kind of spiked it, but it was obviously something between him and Stubbs, or something that Stubbs said. And I can't remember what it was. Was
this about the crosses going in and stopping the crosses or something like that?
Yeah, or something. Yeah. Right? And I can't fully remember because I was actually, funny enough, like thinking about it the other day. I think it's because we're leading up to obviously the semi-final, and you just kind of get wee flashbacks and whatever. And I remember obviously there was different kind of videos that got complimented with kind of the gaffer saying deal with it and all that, and it was absolutely like, obviously it was classic, it was gold, like comedy gold, and like stuff like that, because Peter could be so dry with the press and very, very, like, it was just honestly like the best thing ever. So that after it, especially when you won, it just kind of, I just loved the fact that it was rubbing the salt into the wounds for him in that, and the way that he handled it was just absolutely phenomenal. But in terms of obviously the game itself, I mean, I think I remember, because we were under the cosh in that period, I mean, early doors, I remember I went in too early. I remember right at the start of the game, I think it was, I went on the byline, tried to go against Jason Cummins and win the tackle on the byline because it was going out. He skipped by me, and I think that was their first chance. Like, they broke down the side, I'm recovering back in, and then like that's when and it was nearly a chance or something like that. And that was kind of like a period, that first 10-15 minute period, it was like you already felt you played 90, because I remember it was a roasting hot day.
It was.
The way they started, to be fair to them, was they were on the front foot, and we kind of soaked it up massively. I remember there was a period where I felt I was only 2 yards from my 18-yard box for the first 40 minutes. And then obviously the Faguli chance and Cummins chance off the Jammer sitting on the ball in the 6 yard. And I remember actually, because the camera got it brilliant, Jammer's caught the ball off the post when Faisal's kind of went for the goal, and it's come back, and Jammer's on the ball and just went, as if this is an onslaught. Like, he's even feeling it as a goalkeeper. So, and that's how we felt. And then obviously when we got to half time, honestly, it was hearing that half time whistle was the best thing ever, because it was a right tough dig in, but it was brilliant, because at the same time, because I could see the players round about me in the dressing room thinking, we've stuck together here.
Mm-hmm.
We showed a right togetherness, because listen, that Hibs team were very good. John McGinn, Cummins, McGeoch, Five Allen, like top team, and really good passing side. So we kind of suffered massively in that 45 minutes, for good periods of the game, and to come in 0-0 and survive it, with luck, but to then regroup and go out the way we did. And I must admit, I thought we actually started the second half really well, and we probably started better than them. We kind of got a foothold in the game, started kind of imposing our own way that we usually do on the other team, and we could just kind of sense it. Still had to dig in, because Cummins obviously was on fire that season as well. And then obviously when we ended up getting the goal, it was just,
Bedlam.
Just a sheer sense of relief, because I genuinely felt when we went 1-0 up, I knew that they wouldn't score.
Yeah.
I just had that feeling. I just felt that we rode our luck in the first half. We've had great bits of defending as a team, blocks and clearances, and Jammer obviously pulling great saves. I just felt that, we're going to go on and score again, because they'll obviously need to come out, or we're just going to have a right good team performance, dig in and see it out. And that's what it turned out to be fair. I must admit, that's what it turned out to be. We dug in, we had a real good shape about us, we limited them. In the last minute they had a couple of wee flurries, but we really saw the game really well. And it was, as a defender, those type of games where you come out with that kind of 1-0 clean sheet and you've been under the cosh for good periods, it's brilliant, and it was just a sheer sense of relief when the final whistle went, because there was a period where I think Luke Leahy, funny enough, actually asked the referee how long ago, and I actually shouted at him and said, don't bother asking how much, because if he turns around and says 15 ago, my head is going to be spinning. I said, don't ask him. But when the final whistle went, it was just absolute relief. And when you're in the dressing room and that, it was just
Peter, see the goal celebration though, because obviously it's an iconic one where everybody rushing to the corner at the LED.
Yeah, goal was the board.
The stand was just the same though. It was just bodies and limbs and feet everywhere. It was just carnage.
Actually, I think the Falkirk Twitter put up those pictures the other day, I think, or one of the club photographers put up pictures of the semi-final when Sim scored the other day, obviously leading up to the game, and obviously I've got them on my phone and that anyway, so I can see them. But just when the boys in that ran over, and obviously Sibby at the front because he scored, obviously, and then the wee man, actually, you don't end up seeing him. He ends up just, it looks like the ground opens up the ball. You do not see him for about 5-10 minutes, and then you see obviously the crowd and that, as if they just pile forward like over the seats, and it's like they're on top of it. Honestly, it's a fantastic picture.
Brilliant. It was brilliant.
Just like that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? It's just absolutely, absolutely.
What was the night out like afterwards, Peter?
Yeah, it was really good, to be fair. Like, I must admit, it was quite quiet because it was a Sunday. I remember I think we all just went into Glasgow, and it was obviously just the boys and that. Like, there was no family of that there, because we wanted to go and celebrate it, obviously, to get to the final, but we didn't want to make too big of it in terms of, because we knew we hadn't done anything yet, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
So we wanted to go and listen. For a team like us at the time, you've got to go and treasure those moments, because you never know when you're going to be in an FA Cup final, Scottish Cup final, again, and get through. So, but just being with the boys that night, it was just a fantastic sense of achievement, looking around at your teammates and knowing that what a day, because going in as underdogs against a team like Hibs, and just seeing the full, as soon as the final whistle went, and seeing all the emotion of the supporters, how happy they were, the support they gave us that day, was just absolutely phenomenal. The sheer sense of relief for the players, because we went through the mill that day, because it was such a tough game, and getting in the dressing room and that night, it was just a great feeling to be together that night, and everybody there, like, the squad and that together, and just absolutely fantastic. And then obviously the build up to the final was brilliant as well. So, but no, just a fantastic occasion. Just every moment of it, you remember the feelings, the adrenaline from going on the bus to the game, just amazing.
Well, you've got us buzzing for Saturday now, Peter. What do you think the score's going to be? Are you going to make the game? Are you going to just watch the telly?
Yeah, probably just watch it on the telly. Is it Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday, 12:15, the Old Firm's on the Sunday.
I'll be able to, we're away to Elgin on Saturday, so I'll be able to actually watch part of the game on the bus going up, which is good. So, I'll be tuning in that.
I forget you've actually got the small thing of actually playing a game of football. But I mean, obviously, you're guaranteed playoffs now. You fancy chances of going up to League One?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, listen, we're obviously disappointed we never went on to win the league there. Obviously, we had a right tough time with injuries, and obviously there was results in that we could have that we let ourselves down in. But we've bounced back really, really well the last couple of weeks now. 3 clean sheets in a row, 2 wins and a draw, and now we're just the focus is the last 2 games going in with a bounce into the playoffs, and having that focus and we've got a great belief as so we've got a really good squad, really good staff, manager that that we believe we've got a good belief that we can go in and get the job done. Just take it game by game once the playoffs do come. And we do believe that if we do everything right, we've got a right chance of going and get that success that we want. So really look forward to it.
I'll ask you for a prediction then for the Falkirk and Wyness game on Saturday. Then
I'm going to go 2-0 Falkirk.
Yes, Peter, that's what we're talking about, big man. Well played.
I hope they go and go one better because obviously they've got a right good chance, a right good side. John's got them playing really good football, really good set of players he's got. So and they'll take obviously a fantastic support. So the boys will hear them all the Bairns in fine voice, I'm sure. So it's a great occasion for them. I wish them all the best, and obviously I wish the players and the staff go and embrace every moment. Like we did. Because it is a fantastic occasion, and don't let it slip by. Go and embrace every moment, and what will be will be.
Indeed.
Well, hopefully we're adding. Well, I don't want to take this accolade away from you, Peter. Hopefully we're adding another scorer in the Scottish Cup final in this century come the end of the season. But listen, thank you so much for your time, Peter. I really, really appreciate it, and best luck for you for the rest of the season.
No, pleasure. Thanks for having me on, guys.
This is Falkirk Daft.
So I'm left on my own now. Ross has had to jump off for a bit, but I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Andrew from the Wyness Shuffle, Inverness's very own podcast. How you doing, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm not bad at all, mate, thanks.
Have you got cup fever? Like we were just talking at the start of the podcast, we've got that just waking up on Monday after the result on Saturday. You obviously had a draw against Dundee, which kind of keeps your promotion hopes alive as well. It's that buzz you just feel, don't you?
Yeah, I think we recorded our big preview last night, and that really kind of got the juices flowing. I think up to now I've been kind of thinking about the league, this kind of unlikely late kind of challenge for the playoffs, and so it means that the cup final's been, or semi-final rather, has been kind of put on the back burner. But actually, just the last few days, you're really starting to think about it. So this week, I'm counting down the hours now.
I know, and what's in you mentioned the form there. I mean, what are absolute? When the draw was made, I thought, Inverness, I quite you weren't in great form, but since that quarter final, you have been absolutely flying. It was 6 wins on the spin, and then you drew there at Dundee. That's the only points you've dropped since the start of March.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, partly it's it's a bit of a cliche, but it's partly getting players back. We had bad injury problems that's been well documented, and although the performances have been pretty patchy, some of them have been it's been grinding it out. We'll probably talk about lineups later on, I'm guessing, but there's now a solidity through the middle of the park, which I think makes us much, much harder to beat, and that's probably the main reason that we're getting these results.
Yeah, because there was calls at some point for Billy Dodds to get the sack, wasn't there?
Yeah, and they're still there. I think
some people have
taken up a very I think it's probably a minority, but some people have taken a fairly entrenched position of saying his remit this season was to get us up. That's not going to happen. There has been no real improvement. And we've seen the same sorts of issues from last season repeating themselves, i.e. long periods where we couldn't buy a win and periods where and kind of like defeats to opponents that we should really not be losing to, e.g. like back-to-back against Hamilton back in, I think it was February. So those are the criticisms that people have got of him. There are others as well. People aren't particularly keen on his style, or perhaps lack of a clear style. They think football's not very attractive. But I think most people now recognise that he's done a reasonably good job under the circumstances. Most of what you said in terms of getting players back and the form starting to turn around has come true. The chances are he'll get us into the playoff. He's got us into the Scottish Cup final. So I think most people would kind of acknowledge that if the club offered him a new contract, he's out of contract at the end of the season, that you couldn't really complain about that. But there will be quite a lot of people, I think, that will be saying, oh no, he's failed. And I think that the danger of that is that it means that next season he's going to immediately be open to criticism very quickly the moment we go on a wee dip of form. So yeah, the opposition to him is not entirely dissipated, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to fancy yourselves for the playoffs. I mean, looking at the table just now, 3 points clear of Ayr, who are in 5th.
Yeah.
And the way you guys are going, who have you got in the last game of the season?
Ayr.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah, we've actually, because of the semi-final, we've played a game more than them.
Yeah.
So go into it potentially. I can't remember who they've got. I think they've got Wraith Rovers, who have basically got nothing to play for. So there's a very good chance that we go into that game neck and neck, and they're with a better goal difference. And I think I would probably fancy us. But you just never know with us, and you never really know with Ayr either. And they do have, they've got Akinyemi, who's a sort of he's not been as good.
Yes,
he's a sort of player that'll make a difference, So.
No, it did. That was a game that's going to be to finish the season. Unbelievable. Let's talk about the semi-final, however. I mean, obviously, no strangers to a semi-final. Yeah, yourself and Falkirk. I don't want to talk about 2015, but I think we have to talk about 2015 probably. When we met you in the final that day. I'm assuming you were there.
Yeah, oh god, yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
So, I mean, it's a funny one, isn't it? You're looking back on it, and it was when the final whistle went. It was probably the most euphoric moment of my life. Remember, I know, and it sounds like an exaggeration, but when you've absolutely kind of devoted yourself to something, and I think a lot of us, fans of smaller clubs like this, we do tend to like really, really build an awful lot of our kind of lives around it. It was the one thing literally a dream come true, because it's the one trophy that that a club like us can on a given day win. There's no way we're ever winning the top division these days. So that's the one thing that we could possibly do. And the fact that it actually happened, and it happened 21 years into our existence, and it happened on the back of having pretty much grown steadily and had some of these amazing upsets and played, some sort of really good football over the years as well. It just felt like a kind of crowning moment. Everything seemed to be building towards it. So from that point of view, it was amazing. But if I actually think about the game itself, I was sort of disappointed in it. You know what I mean? We'd been really, really good the first half of that season. I think in December, at the start of December, we were 2 points behind Celtic at the top of the league.
Yeah.
We played some absolutely gorgeous football. And then the second half of that season, the form really dipped. And I think you saw flashes of it in the first half. The goal itself, our opening goal, there was a lovely move, and there was a bit of that in patches. But the second half, my God, we came out and it just looked like we'd kind of seen the enormity of what we were going to do and froze. And Falkirk absolutely hammered us that second half. I thought.
I honestly, when you went down to 10 men, we scored that goal. I turned to my mate and said, "There's only one team winning this now."
Yeah.
And then about three or four mistakes made by players later. James Vincent said, "There's the winning goal." Oh, it was a hard one.
God! I mean, it really was. That was a real kind of your name's on the cup moment, wasn't it? Because we had no business winning that second half. I mean, I love Jimmy McDonald, but he takes everything really well, and he's had an excellent goalkeeper, and then he does that. And the way it falls to Vincent is just, and it was a dreadful shot by Marley Watkins as well. Again, no keeper should spill that. So it felt like this kind of, there's almost someone up there that likes us, So yeah, it was fantastic. And I'm so glad it happened. And it felt like a kind of reward for 21 years of progress. But on the day, if Falkirk had won it, I think everyone would have held their hands up and said, "You're the deserved winners."
I'm opening up old wounds here for Falkirk supporters, and the other one that open is when you beat us in the last match at Brockville. We went completely unbeaten throughout the season, and then you came down on our spoiler promotion party on the last day at Brockville and beat us 3-2.
I was at that as well, actually. It was a fantastic atmosphere that day. I love Brockville. I think it's such a shame that ground's no longer there. It was a brilliant ground right in the heart of the town, and just really, really tight. A fantastic place to watch football. And one thing, I mean, we were an excellent team, and Falkirk were a tremendous team that season. You look at the lineups; they were really good, and we were really good as well. I mean, we'd Dennis Wyness up front, with Barry Robson playing two at that stage. Was this really tricky winger. With my kind of all-time hero Charlie Christie, Ryan Christie's father, playing his last games for the club and actually scoring, I think, his last goal for the club in that game. You know, it was a fantastic game. You know, but at least, I mean, you got your revenge against us in 2009 when you sent us down. Last
yes.
So, you know, it's a kind of swings and roundabouts relationship. You know,
I mean, it does seem that way. I was just looking at the stats, and thanks very much to our resident stato, Donald of the Chorley Bairns, who likes to update us with the stats. So since 1999, since when we first played ICT, 50 games played between the two teams. We've won 24. It's been 11 draws, and we've lost 15. So 59% win rate against you guys. So long may it continue on Saturday. So let's talk to then Inverness. I mean, you've been plagued by injuries this season, Andrew, but looking down, you know, Billy Mackay's back in scoring goals, making goals. Is he the key man for Inverness, or is it the midfield that are doing the job for you?
Mackay's been hugely important, partly because he's incredibly hardworking, and partly because he's still got that kind of class as a finisher. You know, he's not quite as quick on his feet as he once was. He's not quite as sharp as he was in, say, 2013, 2014, when he was absolutely at the top of his game. But he's still an incredibly intelligent footballer, and he's still a really hardworking footballer, and he doesn't panic in front of goal. So all those qualities have meant he's been really important. But I think the key players, it's through the middle, it's through the spine. So Robbie Dees, the heart of the defence, has brought a real calmness. I think the absolute key to us playing well is when we've got both Scott Allardyce and Sean Welsh sitting in the midfield. Yeah. They're both kind of like technically sort of sitting midfielders, but actually one will tend to, it's a usual thing, one will quite often sit and one will go, and they're both comfortable doing that. Our very best teams in the past were like that as well. When we had like Greg Tansey and Ross Draper, they could do that. And Allardyce and Welsh have got a bit of that about them as well. Allardyce in particular, I mean, Sean Welsh is one of these guys who I think people know about because he starts off at Hibs. He's been in a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was looking to the Inverness squad. Yeah. He's the only ex-Bairn in the Inverness squad, from what I can see.
Oh, I'd forgotten he'd been at Falkirk, of course. Yeah, and so you'll know what he's like. He's a classy footballer who's been unlucky with injuries, and so he carries the ball really well. He can pass really well. He's got a bit of a dig on him. He's pretty composed when he's sitting. But Allardyce is the one that people know less about, and he's, if anything, potentially even more important, because what he'll do is, as well as being able to carry the ball forward well, and as well as being able to protect it, you know, or as well as being able to pass it well, he'll protect it, he'll shield it, he'll slow things down. He's hard to knock off the ball. His decision making is generally pretty good. So when you get those two together, there's a composure about the team, and they can tend to find players well. They tend to retain possession well. When any of those is missing, either of those is missing, that just we tend to be more likely to go long a wee bit. We tend to be less likely to kind of like be able to dominate possession. So they're absolutely key to it. And I would say that the one other player, and this is much more recent, well, two others actually, but both more recent, that I'd mention would be Nathan Shaw, who just in the last few weeks has really come on as a player. He's a deceptively slow, kind of slightly ungainly looking. We prefer him wide, but he can also play in the 10, you know, an attacker. He's been excellent. You know, he's created or scored. I think he's scored 4 in the last 6, and he's created several others. And he gives us that kind of, not so much a spearhead, but he's someone who the ball stick to up front. And also, to a lesser extent, Jay Henderson, who's on loan from St Mirren, and he's a really, really good player, a really dangerous winger, good crossing him, can beat a player quite quick as well, scored a couple himself. So they're our sort of danger men. So
is it a 4-2-1-3 that Inverness tend to go with, Andrew?
I would sort of see it more as a 4-2-3-1.
Right.
So you've got Mackay very much as the spearhead. You've got Allardyce and Welsh sitting. You've got Shaw. Right. You've got Henderson will definitely play on one side. Shaw may play I've got a feeling that Shaw plays a 10, even though we all prefer him as a wide player. And the reason I think he'll play as a 10 is that I think Billy Dodds is going to want to have pace somewhere in the team. So his options there are Daniel Mackay, Austin Samuels, or Aaron Doran. Now, Doran's a fantastic player, and Doran could play in the 10 and allow Shaw to play wide, but that means that there's a bit of a lack of pace up front. Shaw, because he can retain the ball well, I think might be the sort of player that can occupy Donaldson and also maybe occupy Stephen McGinn playing ahead of Donaldson, you know, because he's big and hard to knock off the ball. He can beat a player. I think Doran might be slightly easier to dispossess. So I think Shaw will be in there. I think Dan Mackay will probably play kind of left, and he'll be he's more likely to actually go wide and get beyond a player because he's very, very fast. we could play Austin Samuels there, like I say, but Samuels is more of a striker who would tend to play off the shoulder of the last man on a defence playing a high line. Samuels isn't as effective as a winger, so that would be my guess. But I could be wrong. It's one of Dodds' big decisions. It's who plays in the three. It'll be Shaw and Henderson and AN other, and the AN other will decide whether Shaw then plays wide or plays in the middle.
I mean, it's interesting here, because that's the formation we've kind of been working with this season for most part. Certainly in recent game, he's kind of switched to the diamond in midfield with 2 up top. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how he set up, because if it's like for like formation, I wonder if John McGuinn will think, right, well, if you guys have played that formation most of the season, I'm assuming Billy Dodds hasn't really strayed away from that, has he?
Not really. We had George Oakley earlier in the season. The rumours are that he wasn't a Billy Dodds signing and Dodds didn't want him because he's barely played. And then when he eventually went to Morton, he actually hit the ground running really well. Oakley gave us the option to play 2 up front or to at least play with a target man up front. That's gone now. There's nobody that we can kind of like hit with long balls and expect to actually knock the ball down and kind of win it like that. So that's out the window. So really, it's pretty much just going to be that system, I think.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how they match up tactically then. Anything from Falkirk that you fear, Andrew? I mean, there's a couple of ex-Inverness players playing in the middle of our defence, for example. Yeah. Anything you've got to fear?
Well, it was quite interesting listening to Ross the other day, because we've all always believed that Cole Donaldson is clearly a talented footballer with a mistake in him, tends to get a rush of blood to the head, maybe carries the ball too far out of defence and then kind of finds himself kind of in no man's land and he's struggling to get back. He did that for us a few times. I don't know if you've seen it. I think his concentration levels. Yeah, I think his concentration levels are not great, so we're kind of hoping he has a dip on Saturday, but no doubt he'll be fantastic. Brad Mackay, for us, I actually thought he got a little bit of unfair criticism, especially in his final season. I think his last few months for us, he was pretty strong. He really stepped up. Why I think he was lacking a wee bit is that I think in a faster league, he struggles. Mm-hmm. Especially, if he's playing deep and he's playing against lower players, he's all right, he's really strong. But if he gets turned by a player, then, he really, really struggles. I'm not sure that we've necessarily... It depends. If we end up with, say, Samuels playing up front and Falkirk are pushing out, if they're playing a high defensive line, then I think Mackay could really struggle. But John McGlynn is presumably going to know that, and he's not going to let him come too far out. So I think Mackay might do okay against our forward line. The Falkirk players that I think I fear are the 2 wingers, and I obviously know a bit about Kai Kennedy. He had a couple of very good performances for us. He had a game against Queen of the South when he absolutely tore them apart, and he had 1 or 2 others, and then he seemed to dip a wee bit. But by all accounts, he's been really good recently.
6 goals in the last 4 games for us.
Oh, well, so there you go. And Callum Morrison on the other side, who's your top scorer, isn't he? I fear those 2, partly because they're obviously good players in their own right and they're doing really well this season, but also the one area, apart from who plays in the 3 behind Mackay, that there are issues and debates over is who's going to play our 2 fullback roles. There's 8 players that are stick-ons in our team. The 3 that aren't are one of the 3 behind Mackay plus the 2 fullbacks.
Yeah.
So David Carson's suspended. I think Carson there, because he's a pretty, hard, uncompromising, nasty sort of player, would probably have been a difficult player for whoever plays left for you. Do they switch, by the way? Or is there...
The Morrison and Kennedy, sometimes he does. Sometimes Morrison does. They don't tend to. It tends to be a solid Kai Kennedy out on the left, Morrison on the right.
So Kennedy would be playing against Carson. Carson would know him, and I think that would be quite an interesting battle. But Carson's not going to be there, and we're going to have Wallace Duffy almost certainly in there. He actually had a couple of good games earlier in the season, but he's been injured. He's never convinced entirely. I think he could be get-atable, certainly. On the other side, we've got to make a decision between whether we play Cammy Harper, who's a kind of player who's come through the youth for us, very, very good footballer, good going forward, not absolutely, convinced by him defensively, although I think he's really developed this season. So there's him, but he might well be kept on the bench because he's very versatile and he could actually come on in the midfield role. And if it's not him, then it's going to be a guy called Zach Delaney, who's a big, strong boy, kind of Irish boy, I think we got from West Brom. Can tackle hard. He looks quite intimidating, but he's got a mistake in him as well. He really, really fluffed it badly earlier in the season against... God, I can't even remember who it was now. I think it was possibly Morton or someone like that. I know it caught really, really flat foot. So again, you're kind of looking at these guys and you're saying with 2 kind of flying wingers, especially in a big pitch, I think those areas could be really difficult. I don't know enough about. I mean, obviously you've got Gary Oliver up front. I think he scored against us for Morton last season, but he doesn't really scare me. I don't know much about Rudden, but I think Ross spoke quite highly of him. Burrell. Sorry, not
yeah, Burrell. He'll be interesting to see. He's certainly in the last couple of weeks come in. He's got pace. He's big. He's strong. I'll be interested to see if he starts with him. I think he might just do that because, like you say, he's a bit of an unknown quantity to a lot of teams. So I'm sure Billy Dodds. John Robertson was down a few weeks back checking out the game when we played Kelty. So I'm pretty sure they'll have done their homework on them. I mean, obviously, you guys are in at favourites with Paddy Power. They've got you at 3-4, while they're Falkirk outside at 3-1 for the match. What do you think the score's going to be, Andrew?
We were talking about this last night. Obviously, I've got to back us, but it's not with any huge conviction. I think there'll be goals now. I'm going to go 3-2 to us. I think there's enough mistakes in the team, but there's just enough goals in both teams for it to be a really open game. And that's the thing. I don't think either team can afford to try and sit back and soak it up too much. No. We definitely won't do that, because if we allow the wingers to get in the front foot, I think we can really start to lose our rhythm. So I think we will come out not absolutely gung-ho, but we'll come out and try and press high, try and get control of the midfield and get our three behind the guy to get up and really, really press and try and win like that, dominate like that. And that always leaves you vulnerable. So I think there'll be goals in it. And 3-2 to us.
3-2. Well, I think I'm going to take a draw and then a wee Falkirk goal in extra time, I think.
All right.
I'll take that. But no, listen, it should be. I mean, I'm probably like you, just buzzing for Saturday and just. It can't come soon. It can't come soon. What are you doing for the day? You just getting the train?
Yeah, I mean, let's say, because I'm not too far from Glasgow, I'll get the train up in the morning. There's a place in the city centre that's open early that we've identified, so a group of us will be meeting up there. And we did try and book somewhere, but then they didn't. They got the license that they'd applied for. It wasn't upheld. So we're just having to go for one of the early opening places. So it might well be rammed with Falkirk fans as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to work it out, like, because I'm looking for a pub as well. So we're like, there's a whole bit like the Counting House, but I don't know if that has an early license or not. But
I think the Counting House will be rammed. But if you've got, I think if you buy a breakfast or something, you're okay. But then they tend to get run off their feet. You can get a pint if you buy breakfast or something. I'm gonna keep my cards close to my chest because fair enough,
Andrew.
I'll be sitting there.
Getting to the kickoff times, obviously, unbelievable, shocking for the Inverness supporters to have to come. They could be expected to travel down for the 12:15 kickoff. Would you rather have had it somewhere else, or are you quite happy that it's at Hampden just for the experience?
I'm going to sound really cocky here, but we've had the experience so many times that we've actually. I mean, it's one of the really bizarre statistics about the club is that we've played, I believe, in more Scottish Cup semi-finals in the last 20 years than any team outside the Glasgow 2, the Edinburgh 2, and Aberdeen. It's a ridiculous stat, that. So we've been there quite a lot. I would. The best semi-final in some ways I went to was the 3-2 against Celtic, but actually, really the best was when we beat Hearts in the League Cup semi-final 2014, and that was at Easter Road. It was a phenomenal game, anyway. But the atmosphere in Easter Road, it was so tight. So I think Tynecastle would have been fantastic. People might say that would have been fairer to have it at McDermott Park for the Inverness fans, and I get that. But if you're looking for atmosphere, then Tynecastle would have been the place. Yeah. But the thing about that is it wouldn't make any difference to the issue of the travelling time. And it's just one of those things that TV. It's an old kind of complaint, but TV dictates, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course it does. And just over 3,000 Inverness supporters expected, or is what are you expecting? 4,000 maybe?
I would say 3.5, 4. I mean, that's the core supporter. I'm quite happy with that. People kind of go on about, Inverness doesn't come out and support his club, and I know, isn't that pathetic and that? But it's like, well, it is what it is. Those supporters will be the ones that really care. They'll be the ones that have got a history with the club, the ones that sort of know each other, the ones that know the players, all this sort of stuff. That's what matters. They'll create a really good atmosphere, and it'll really, really matter to them if we go through. I'm not dissing the 12,000 that travel for the cup final. It's great that they turned out, and Inverness turned out fantastically when the cup came back to the town. But the reality is that in 2015, the scales kind of fell from my eyes about the club's potential and its ceiling, because we take 12,000 to the cup final, and then we play in the first round of Europa League the qualifying round a month and a half later, and there's nearly 6,000 in Inverness. We take 500 away to Romania, and you're thinking. So I went up with the first league game of the season a couple of weeks after that, thinking it'll be great. There'll be 5,000 minimum. There was 3,300, including Motherwell fans.
Yeah.
For a club that had just won the Scottish Cup and finished third in the top division, and you're looking at that and you're going, right, well, that's it. If we can't get 5,000 through the gates now, it's clear that there's 3,000 people that really, really want to go to football in Inverness, and then there's some people that might turn up for the special occasions, but it's not going to get bigger than that, and that's great. The only sad thing is that every time the club takes a slagging for having a shit supporter, it's the ones who go and aren't shit that are wounded by it, and that's kind of not right. Do you know what I mean? But
I know.
It is what it is, and those 3,000, I hope, will have a fantastic day, and they're the ones that really, really, really matters to.
Yeah. Well, listen, I hope you have a fantastic day, but not too fantastic. I hope you enjoy your morning and you have a great day and you have a nice build up, and then come about 3 o'clock that you're drowning your sorrows somewhere, Andrew.
Can I return exactly the same with this?
But listen, thank you so much for coming on Falkirk Daft. No. All the best for Saturday, though we don't really mean that. And we'll see you at the ground.
Okay, will do. All right, cheers. Thanks. Bye-bye.
This is Falkirk Daft.
On Falkirk Daft, we now and again, we ask a big question. I think there's only one question on everyone's lips this week. What are you doing for the semi-final? It's like everyone's just like, where you going? What are you doing before it? Because it's that kind of small window, like between 9 and 12. It's like, where can we get a beer between? That's the question we're asking. Where can we get a beer between 9 and 12 is what we're needing to know. Roscoe, what's your plans?
So Elliot's on Saturday morning. There's obviously 4 or 5 buses leaving for there. So Elliot's early doors.
A breakfast roll and a pint?
Yes, I think that'll probably be the order of the day. And then Hampden, obviously, and then all being well, celebrating back in Falkirk after the game. That's the plan. What about you?
Well, I think, my plans have changed slightly. I'm on a works night out on Friday where we're doing the sub crawl, which has got trouble written all over it already because we're starting at 12 o'clock. Yeah. So I'm out with the troops from work on Friday. So then the plan was my brother stays in Glasgow, stay at his, and then he's not far away from Hampden, get a couple of drinks at his, walk down to the ground. Now, he's working till midnight on Friday, so I thought, well, there's no point in staying at yours because you're not going to be until midnight, so I will come after the sub crawl, I will come back down the road to Arbor and then get the train from Arbor into town, meet a couple of guys in town. I believe, now I might be wrong, that the Counting House does breakfast with a pint, so... And right. I think there's a few of the troops meeting in the Counting House. Good. I would imagine there'll be a lot of Falkirk sports in there because with obviously the football relationship and a lot of people go there for Scotland games.
Yes.
So I imagine there'll be a lot of Bairns in there. Wee breakfast roll, couple of pints, onto the train to Mount Florida, get you in the ground. That's the plan. And then afterwards, who knows? I think the plan is back into Glasgow, good few drinks in Glasgow, train to Grahamston, and then
whatever
behind the wall, Elliot's, the whole shebang. If we win, if not, I will be walking, getting the train back to Arbor, buying myself a large pizza, and just walking up the road.
Well, hopefully it's the first one.
Yep, that'll be it. So fingers crossed. But we asked you guys what he's up to because we're looking for advice. Well, Scott Harrower says, take my Falkirk Daft son, brilliant, to his first Hampden Falkirk experience as a 10-year-old. He's had a fantastic season following the Bears. Away days to Darvel, Montrose, Kelty, etc. will be memories to keep forever. Absolutely. I mean, you don't forget that first Hampden experience with Falkirk.
No, you don't. And do you know, my first Hampden experience isn't even a cup game. It was Celtic.
Yeah, of course it would be.
Falkirk versus Celtic when they were ground sharing. Remember when teams were allowed to ground share in the Premier League?
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Yeah, if it suits. But yeah, that was my first. And it was weird because obviously Celtic didn't have a big crowd that season at all. Yeah. Hampden was like half empty, but absolutely. And there's loads of kids going to be going. It's going to be brilliant to see. And these are all future generations as well, aren't they? So
I mean, the first experience I had with Hampden was obviously that Dunfermline with Falkirk was that Dunfermline semi-final, which what a fantastic way to start it off, you know, because most of the games that we've went into at Hampden or we've always been underdog.
Yeah.
You know, we are again rightfully this Saturday as well. I don't remember a game at Hampden we've went into as favourites.
No, I don't think so.
No,
maybe actually. Likewise, yeah.
Yep. So
that has to change sometime. Although I don't think it'll change in the final because obviously I was Celtic and Rangers. So.
Well, this is our final. And the money that we get if we get to the finals will be unbelievable, and obviously the day out as well. So
everybody's pal Stevie Beveridge. So the doors are open at his house from 7 a.m. It says. I don't know if that's an open invitation or whether it's just for those that are
everyone.
Invited,
Stevie Beveridge, check him out on Twitter. Go and chap his door.
For the bus leaving at 10, just round the corner, and they're booked into a bar 5 minutes from the ground. Saturday is going to be a good day.
It certainly will be. Gary Murray says, trying to keep calm for my son, who's the mascot. Amazing. So Gary's son's leading out the team. Be hopefully celebrating an amazing day when we get back to FK. Come on, you Bears, make us dream. Ken McAllister, FSC boys and girls will be making plenty of noise.
Oh, they will indeed. And just on that, all the very best to Greg Murray, who is the mascot. What an amazing that feeling that'll be leading the team out, and for Gary as well.
You have a lump in your throat, Gary.
Absolutely. Steve Brown says driving up from Bristol on Friday, taking his dad to the game and out for dinner, beer after, hopefully with a massive grin on our faces. 768-mile round trip in 48 hours.
Ooh.
Can't wait.
There's a lot of people making big trips. My mate's coming up from Shrewsbury for it as well. It's that side of the game. Colin saying 10 of us meeting at Bean Cross, 3 generations. These are the stories you love to hear. Going to Hampden. Martin saying he's leaving a family weekend to Weems Bay and commuting to Glasgow with his son. And they're meeting the group at Central and then down to Hampden after that.
Good stuff. Stuarty Boy FFC, as he's known on Twitter, squad of us getting an early train through so that we can have a small libation before the game. Few beers after the game, regardless of the result.
Dougie from the Football Fans in Training and all the boys, they're getting the bus from the station in Larbert. The Wags are coming too apparently this time, and the flags have been bought. I might see you down the station because I'll be loitering about the doors. Or maybe the station will open early. There's a thought. So, fingers crossed. We'll see you down there, boys.
Bairns Star on Twitter, pub booked in Berlin to watch the game. So
amazing.
Unfortunately, Bairns Star's missing it, but I'm sure he'll be having a good time in Berlin. Nevertheless.
I know, that's crack. So Dave says, train from Newcastle where I live at 7 a.m, due in Glasgow for 10, train back at 7 o'clock, so plenty of extra time for penalties if required. Come on, Falkirk.
Come on, indeed. And Boston Bairn found a place over here in Dover, near Hampshire, about 20 minutes from me. The only drawback is it's a 7:15 a.m. kickoff.
Oh, I'm sure he'll still have it. Yeah, that's New Hampshire in America, by the way, not New Hampshire down south. But he's Boston Bairn on our Discord as well. He's that'll be a cracking. I think he's found a pub, like close by, so brilliant place to watch it. But there you go, that's what you guys are all doing. We will see you at the ground no matter what you're doing. It's going to be a great day out, fingers crossed. Afterwards we're going back to Falkirk to celebrate as well.
Indeed.
This is Falkirk Daft.
So what a bumper edition of Falkirk Daft that was, Ross. We spoke to the main man himself, Peter Grant. We reviewed both the games from last week, and obviously speaking to Andrew from the Wyness Shuffle podcast, getting his thoughts on the big game this Saturday. Got his thoughts, Ross, but I've not got your thoughts yet on what you think the formation and the lineup should be on Saturday. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so for me, Big Brankneer, I think he'll keep his place. I know he's had a few hairy moments, but I just don't see Joe McGlynn chopping and changing the goalkeeper ahead to such a big game. Defence, I think Mr. Williamson will keep
the PE teacher's getting the cones out on Saturday.
Yep, I think he'll start the game. I don't know whether he'll finish the game, but I think he'll certainly start the game. Alongside him, Big Brad Mackay and Big Cole. Cole's form's obviously been a bit patchy, but he does more good than harm for me.
With Mackie not being available and Watson, there's no real option there unless you were to drop Henderson back into the centre half, is there?
Well, allegedly Watson's fit. I just don't see him not playing any games and then putting him straight in at a Hampden semi-final. He's not going to do that. And as you say, the only other option is kind of moving Hendo back a bit, but he's working in midfield, isn't it? So no, I think big call and big Brad McKay will stick in centre half, and then left back. So Liam McCann's been so consistent this season, and even if Mackie was fit, I think I'd rather be playing Leon at left back. Midfield, McGinn and Henderson, definitely the obviously centre pairing. Morrison and Kennedy, I think, are stick-ons. Yeah, I'd be shocked if either of them don't start the match. And wee Max has just been so consistent, and he's been playing well. I think he'll start the game as well. So for me, I think it'll be Nesbitt missing the start of the game out.
Who are you going for up front?
I would play Burrow from the off. I would give them something to think about. I think it's too obvious to go Oliver for a period of time and then bring on Burrow. But then John McGlynn does do that, doesn't he? He prefers to kind of be a little bit steady, a little bit maybe cautious in the off, and then go for it. But for me, I would give them something to think about early doors. So especially as the Inverness lads had mentioned about them having a couple of
fullbacks
in defence as well, didn't they?
They're struggling with the fullbacks, So, I mean, if we match up formations, we're going to have to be on a good game. But the Inverness guys seem to think that their fullback's going to be an issue. So I think it makes sense to play the 4-3-3. I think I would probably start though Aidan Nesbitt instead of Max and bring Max on for a bit more impact. I just think with the size of the Hampden pitch, Nesbitt's engine, and he's always got some, I think he'll rise up to the game. So I think I would go with the team you've got, but I would have Nesbitt in instead of wee Max, and I would be so tempted to start Oliver just because the type of game it is. But I think Burrow will give them something to think about. He's an unknown quantity to Inverness. I think they'll know Oliver, but I think Burrow will be an unknown quantity and give them problems, especially with all the space he's going to have to run into in Hampden as well. So yeah, I'd go with your team, but I think I'll take Nesbitt in front of Max. I think he probably deserves to start.
That was my thought process as well with the size of the pitch, although I believe it's not too dissimilar to Falkirk, which is weird.
It's just because So we'll see how we get on. I cannot wait for Saturday. But I mean, some sad news that we have got in to Falkirk Daft is there will be a Bairn missing on Saturday. We heard from Scott McElroy, whose brother Kev, who a lot of people maybe know from travelled with him on the Elliott's bus in the 80s and 90s as a season ticket holder. Kev unfortunately passed away very suddenly and unexpected at the age of 52. So this show is for you, Scott, Kev, family, thoughts with you. Jim also got in touch with us about that. So dedicate this show to you, Scott, and the family, Jim, friend, everything. And hopefully Falkirk can do it for you on the pitch come Saturday, and we'll see how it goes. Good to thank our sponsors this week, Haldane Construction. Thanks for the support, guys. Remember, if you are looking to get a project done, whether it's an extension, whether it's a new build, even swimming pools, Haldane Construction can sort you out. Big supporters of the club, and obviously we have to say that quality. Sorry, I was desperately trying to find that. Quality and loyalty is at the heart of their business. So get Haldane sorted by hitting them up at haldaneconstruction.co.uk. All the links are below for that. What a show. Remember, get us on our socials. We'll be obviously buzzing towards the semi-final, so keep an eye on our socials on Twitter, Falkirk Daft, Instagram Falkirk Daft, and on our Facebook as well. You can still get your bucket hats, Ross, until Wednesday afternoon. And do you know what?
You got yours to hand, have you?
I've buckled to the pressure. Here we go. I've got a bucket hat ready for Saturday. I do not suit this. I'll be wearing my bucket hat, you'll be wearing your bucket hat. Hopefully 100 other Bairns will be wearing their bucket hats as well, but there's still some available if you want to get it ahead of the semi-final as well. So lots to get in. Obviously merch as well. You can get our merch below as well. All the links, check it out for anything down there. Right, something a bit different. You know, we usually finish the show by saying expect the unexpected, but a well-kent face around Falkirk, a guy who's been playing tunes around Falkirk, massive Bairn, Ross Fairweather's done something a bit special ahead of the Cup semi-final. He's put a wee song together called The Bairns Are Believing. I think we should finish the show with that. So, Ross, you can say your catchphrase.
Expect unexpected, guys.
And let's hope we are back here next Monday talking about a Falkirk win. In the meantime, let's keep believing. Here's Ross Fairweather.
Just a city boy, born and raised in South Detroit. I took the midnight train going anywhere. A singer in a smoky room, the smell of wine and cheap perfume. I took the midnight train going on and on and on and on. Don't stop believing. Hold on to the feeling. Street light people. Oh, no matter how hard I tried, I've never found a better sight than the navy blue. You know that is true. These times that we'd all believe in, at nights has got us all dreaming. 'Cause I've had time to think it through. The answer is in navy blue. Oh, do you believe that we'll win the cup? I can feel something inside me say the Falkirk Bairns are strong enough. Oh,
Spits on the march, and that's a really good opportunity here for Oliver. And Falkirk take the lead.
yeah.